April. That's right. I advise this meeting is about to be streamed live to the internet. All those present shall refrain from making any defamatory statements, and upon joining these online meetings, you accept the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I'll just pause briefly now and wait while we get our streaming going and just confirm that it is in operation. It's that's okay. Excellent. Thank you. So streaming has now commenced. So the first item on the agenda is the acknowledgement of country. If I can ask Councillor Wells, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people of the traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders, both past, present and emerging, of the Wiradjuri nation, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal peoples from other nations who are present. I'd also like to provide a welcome in Wiradjuri language. Yurdu Marang Manglang, Yundubam, Nado Tabaga Manglang, Wiradjuri Nurmanga, Nado Wale Manglang, Nado Banagu, Gulbadari, Marigang, Mararu, Yalabu Gira, Aboriginal Nurmbang Yalu, Menangu, Wadagu, Bingagu. What I simply said was, good day people, my name is Pam. I am of Tabaga peoples of the Wiradjuri Nation, of the Wiradjuri Special Country. My totem is brush-tailed possum, and I'd like to acknowledge elders past, present and future. This is Aboriginal country, always was and always will be. And thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Councillor Etheridge, could you say the prayer, please?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. O God, grant that by the knowledge of thy will, all we may resolve shall work together for good. We pray through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Next item on the agenda is CCL 22/79. I have a leave of absence request in the name of Councillor Burns and Councillor Wright. Could I have someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Black. Seconded by Councillor Mann. Any discussion or debate? There being none, I put that all those in favour. Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CCL 22/80, conflicts of interest. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest in, is it CCL 22/84, in that, same as the committee meetings a fortnight ago, that my employer, Baraka Christian Education, has purchased a parcel of land from council. The Chief Executive, under the power of attorney, has approved that sale. This was all signed up to before I became a councillor, and it won't affect any decision making. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Also have a conflict of interest declaration by the Director of Culture and Economy, Ms Coomer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to declare a pecuniary interest in agenda item CCL 22/106. The reason for this conflict is I may be looking at purchasing a block at Keswick Estate, Stage 5, Release 2. As my interest is pecuniary, I will therefore not be present in the room when the matter is discussed.
Thank you, Ms Coomer. I just ask any other conflicts of interest to be declared by any of the councillors or staff. Just bear with me 1 second. I just, Mr. the CEO would like to declare a conflict of interest as well.
Yes, I'll declare a significant and pecuniary interest in the Merrill Minute CCL 22/83, the Chief Executive Officer's Performance Agreement, and we'll have to leave the room accordingly at the right time.
Thank you to the CEO. Next item on the agenda is CCL 22/81, confirmation of minutes. Can I have someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Showery, seconded by Councillor Ivey. Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item on the agenda is the public forum. We've got 5 people registered for public forum at this stage, And I'll just run through briefly the way public forum will work is that each speaker will be given 5 minutes. At 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I'll make a noise. I'll tap a pencil on a glass, so you'll hear a noise at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. You've got 30 seconds to wrap up, and your 5 minutes will finish there. We've got some people here in the audience, and we've also got some people coming in via Teams. So the first person, and we do these people in order of when they registered, the first person to speak in public forum is Mr Andrew McClelland. He's speaking in relation to CCL 22/89. He's going to come in via Teams, and once Holly gets that up and running for us, there we go. And thank you, Mr McClelland, and your 5 minutes starts now. You're on mute there, Mr McClelland. I'm not sure if it's at our end or your end. Just test that again. Not yet. We'll just check it again here, sorry. There we go. Right, sorry, I'll start your time again, Mr McClelland. Away you go.
Okay. Good afternoon, councillors of Mayor Dickinson. My name's Andrew McClelland. I'm part of Dubbo City Car Club. Sorry, I'm reading this because I'm to get it out all right. I'd like to talk to you today about the notice of motion that has been brought before council concerning the use of Wellington Aerodrome and Recreation Park. The recommendation that council temporarily withhold permission for Dubbo City Car Club to use Wellington Aerodrome and Recreation Park for the purpose of drag racing. Dubbo City Car Club have been supporting this facility for approximately 25 years, and according to council records, contribute nearly 3 times as much to the running costs of the aerodrome as the Aero Club do. This recommendation is pending resolution of the following. An assessment be undertaken of the actual cost of wear and tear on the airfield tarmac, which results from the use of the facility for drag racing. This tarmac that was largely funded by the Dubbo City Car Club and a government grant which the club secured. I take this opportunity to remind Mayor Dickinson and Deputy Mayor Ivey that recently you attended a track inspection with the IHRA, the governing body for drag racing in Australia, where it was agreed that the tarmac was suitable for drag racing on the 8th mile to an elapsed time of 6.4 seconds, which equates to 110 miles per hour. Coincidentally, this is the same speed a light plane takes off at. I believe it is reasonable to say that if the surface condition is too poor for drag racing, then it's also too poor to be used as a runway. Furthermore, the motion recommends that a subsequent agreement be reached between Dubbo Regional Council and the Dubbo City Car Club for a reasonable level of cost recovery to be paid by the Dubbo City Car Club to Dubbo Regional Council in relation to that assessed wear and tear. The assessed wear and tear that is now generally being accepted as a failure of the sealing agent that was used by a council contractor to repair the old age cracks in the tarmac, which has remained tacky and now comes off even when forked on, nothing to do with drag racing. I would like to remind everybody that drag racing events like the one held over Easter not only support the aerodrome, they also bring significant tourism dollars to the local economy, estimated $62,000 over Easter alone. I would also like to remind you that the recorded average 22 landings per month bring little to no tourism dollars to the local area. We have documents to support the things we've said here tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr McClelland. You did well. Only 3 minutes. Didn't have to ding the bell on you. Okay, the next speaker on the agenda for public forum is Ms Stephanie Heisman, again on CCL 22/89. And Ms Heisman, and I'm not sure if I've got that pronunciation right, I'm sorry, but if you'd like to come forward to the microphone and press the button on there. The light will go red, and then you've got your 5 minutes to speak again.
Okay, I hate
you.
my voice on a microphone, so you'll have to accept my apologies for that. Like Andrew, I also have my points written down as well, so if I'm looking down, I do apologise. My name is Stephanie Housemans, and I'm speaking to you today in my position as the Interim Secretary of the Dubbo City Car Club. But moreover, I'm also speaking to you as a drag racer, a crew member and a race official. And I'm urging the Council to reconsider the cessation of drag racing events at the Wellington Aerodrome and Recreation Park. The Dubbo City Car Club commenced running their drag racing events at the Badangra Airstrip in around 1998. At this time I was actually 9 years old, but I was crewing on 2 vehicles at that time, and it holds a very, very special place in my heart. Over the last 25 years, the Dubbo City Car Club has run hundreds of events on site, including the Toyota Nationals, which Andrew referenced, was held on the 17th of April this year. Dubbo City Car Club is of the understanding that the motion has been raised, by Deputy Mayor Ivey, is the result of our most recent event at the facility where debris was left remaining on the tarmac. But before addressing that particular issue, I'd like to raise the following points, some of which Andrew has already raised, but I'd just like to cover again. Around 20 years ago, the Dubbo City Car Club secured a government grant and contributed their own funds to lay hot mix on the area that is fundamentally the airstrip. Since that time, the facility has actually been lengthened and widened, but we still had a contribution to the facility at that time. The average monthly income from the Dubbo City Car Club for the aerodrome is approximately $1,084 per month, or $13,000 per annum, compared to the monthly income from the Aero Club being around $250 per month, or $3,000 per annum, roughly. Further to the point of monies raised, at our most recent event, the Toyota Nationals that were held over the Easter long weekend, we secured 56 entries for this event, with up to 150 people, if not more, being in the region for this event. An estimated 62,000 was brought into the Dubbo region over that weekend by the attendees as they spent money on accommodation, food, fuel, entertainment, auto parts and a number of other things. There are a number of organisations that actually benefit from us running drag racing events at the Wellington Aerodrome, being the local medic. There's a medic in town that we use for our safety. The Rural Fire Service, a couple of brigades in Wellington benefit from that. The Wellington Lions, Kennards Hire, Bunnings and also a local skip bin company. As Andrew mentioned, a track inspection was conducted with IHRA Australia, the Dubbo City Car Club. Mayor Dickerson, I understand you were present, as was Deputy Mayor Ivey. And it was noted at the time that the repairs made to the cracks in the surface had not cured or hardened at that time. And it is the understanding of the club that the repairs were undertaken by a Dubbo Regional Council contractor. Since the completion of our last race meeting on the 17th of April, a subsequent report made to Council regarding the tarmac surface, an SOP had been amended, which was the Badangra airstrip closure SOP. It was amended to include a section that stated a full clean of the runway must occur, or if it is unable to occur, that the aerodrome team be contacted immediately. It's also worth noting, though, that the debris that remained on the tarmac surface at the completion of our event was not actually chunks of tarmac, but rather the material that was used in an attempt to seal or fix the cracks. We've not been able to hold another race meeting since the 17th of April, so we haven't actually been able to enact the new amendments in that SOP. I'd also like to refer you all to Council Document Number CC2214, which indicates that there may actually be $82,000 of funds that have been allocated to the fixing, repair, improvement of the Wellington Aerodrome. In closing, I'd like to say that the Dubbo City Car Club prides itself on running safe and entertaining drag racing events for its competitors and crew from across New South Wales, so not only from this region, and we're providing a safe place for people to race in an attempt to remove some of this activity from the streets. It's also the opinion of Dubbo City Car Club that if the tarmac is unsafe for drag racing events to be held, then all activities, including the landing of aircraft at the facility, should cease until a resolution is achieved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Heisman. Exactly on 5 minutes. Well done. The next speaker is Mr Bob Berry, representing REI NSW Arana Division, speaking in relation to CCL 22/106. Thank you, Mr Berry.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, councillors, directors and staff. I'm supported here today by Tara Searle and Laura Shooter from our committee. On behalf of the Arana Division, the Real Estate Institute, I thank you for the opportunity to address Council. The Arana Division has a long association with Council going back to 1983. This association and collaboration with Council has delivered some very good outcomes for the community. Remembered by the Dubbo Open for Inspection weekend in October 1988, which drew national media reporting and prominence for Dubbo with a National LGA award to Council. I will move a little bit out of order from the sheets to the sale of the 50 lots of Keswick land proposed for June. Our committee has discussed the method of sale, consider how Council has sold land in the past to suit buyers and the community, and the need to maximise the best return for ratepayers, and in all these circumstances focusing on the realities of the marketplace and possible changes in the future. The last interest rate rise for housing loans was in 2010, and since 2011 rates have fallen continually, which drove the Dubbo median house price on an upward spiral since the first half of 2012. The median house price is now $455,000. Our committee considered the options for Council to sell the land, including auction, tender/ballot and private treaty sale, which has been the preferred method for Council generally over 50 years. Auction. Market sets the price, contracts exchange at auction. However, given Council is offering unregistered lots at auction, there may be issues of finance approval for buyers to bid, particularly first home buyers, risk of how many fully financed buyers can bid at auction, and if sufficient competition on the 50 lots to achieve the reserve price set by Council. Council, other than setting reserve price and conditions in the sale contract, has no control of outcome and buyer. Could a cashed-up buyer, stroke builder, stroke developer buy multiple lots? Council would have to provide a contract for each lot prior to auction and likely pay an agent's auction commission. Private treaty. Council has complete control over the marketing and selling process. Buyers can purchase direct from Council after due diligence with lending authority, solicitor and builder. Option A of the private treaty process. Council sell lots directly to the public without the intervention of an agent. Or option B, Council invites Dubbo agents to enter into an agency agreement with Council, enabling a commission to be paid if the agent introduces a successful buyer. Any advertising by an agent will be at their cost. In 2015 and 17 Keswick releases, Council sold the dual occupancy lots by auction and the detached lots by private treaty. This is an option which would be appropriate for this release. The dual occupancy lots are a different target market. Aside from this option to split the dual occupancy lots, it is the recommendation of our committee, of our division, that Council sell the Keswick release of lots using either options A or B as Council determines. The last 2 years have changed housing supply and demand in Australia, and the undersupply of housing and lack of choice in Dubbo is mirrored throughout most of regional New South Wales. The housing supply issues can only be solved locally, and Dubbo Regional Council is the only entity in Dubbo that can achieve the required change. It is not an option to proceed as Council has in the past or to decide not to make changes in the supply of land, increase in density in Keswick, and intervention in the provision of residential housing for rental purposes. The responsibility to respond to the housing challenges in Dubbo rests with the Council and staff in this room tonight. It is 50 years since 1972 when Council made the first release of residential land from the land bank acquired in the late 1960s. Council of the day perceived a problem in land supply and purchased a square kilometre of land, which has been the cornerstone of growth in Dubbo over the last 50 years. Council took a risk, albeit a small risk, but the dividend has been huge. Apart from residential dwellings, just look at what commercial, retail, business and other developments located on council land. A lack of action will during the next decade increase the level of homelessness in our city. A 10-year comparison of rents for the 6 major inland regions has been provided to CEO and councillors. The key indicator looking ahead for Dubbo is the level of annual household income required to service current median rents. In Dubbo, it ranges from $48,000 for 1 bedroom, $54,000 for 2 bedrooms.
Thank you, Mr Berry.
$68,000 for 3 bedrooms.
That's
Thank you, Mr. Next.
That's your 5 minutes. Well done. Spot on time.
It's all on there for you.
Thank you, Mr Berry. The next speaker registered is Mr Brad Atchison, representing the Dubbo Residential Builders Group, speaking in relation to CCL 22/87. Mr Atchison, thank you.
Thank you. My reference is about how Keswick will be sold. So council's objective is to buy affordable housing. By offering land sales by auction, I believe this has the potential to increase the price. Keswick has always been priced around 20 to 40,000 below the other estates, and this in effect helps affordability within that area. The application to register to buy a block needs to be in a manner to present multiple buyers. Council in previous stages has sold blocks through their portal. This provided a fair sales process to the Dubbo community and worked really well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Atchison. And the last speaker is Senator O'Neill, speaking on behalf of... Hasn't arrived yet? Okay, that's fine. So that's the end of the registered speakers for public forum. We still have time left in public forum now, so if there's anyone else from the gallery that would like to come forward and speak, just come forward, sir, and press the red button on the microphone there and state your name and preferably either the item or just the general topic you want to speak to, and then you've got your 5 minutes. Thank you.
The red light's on, so I'm assuming it's working. Thank you, Mayor and councillors and council staff for giving me the opportunity to have a talk tonight. I think it's CCL 2022-21, I think, about Wellington Aerodrome is what I want to talk about. The Wellington Aerodrome, a little bit on its history. It was developed in 1955 by locals and farmers and Aero Club members because they valued having an aerodrome for the local community. Usage of this aerodrome was predominantly put there so that the community could use it for lots of different services such as recreational and GA or general aviation aircraft. This is where the young pilots learn how to fly and learn how to use an aircraft in all different assets, such as AirMed, which is widely used, RFDS, RFS, which we used fixed wing and helicopters, agriculture for pest and bait spraying, including mouse plagues, which everybody can remember not that long ago how important that was, and also for locust plagues. Charter flights and business flights operate out of this aerodrome, and the renewables, the technicians come in to do the specialists that come because there's not the specialists here to maintain these facilities. The police also use it, the correctional services also use it, power line inspection aircraft also use it. This facility is an extremely important facility for the community. An example of that is I've only last week an AirMed twin-engine jet came in and it was a 32-minute flight to help save that person's life. I noticed in a document that was brought up in the committee meetings that Pell Air, which has got a 10-year air ambulance contract, has been declined using the base, using the actual Wellington Aerodrome facility, and I'm a bit surprised by this because in that document it also said that a aircraft was used for aerial surveys and it was for CASA, and that actual aircraft, if you calculate out by the landing fees, is actually a heavier aircraft than the King Airs that are used for the medical facilities. So I'd like to see that to be reviewed, particularly for the community of Wellington. There's a big community benefit for this aerodrome, and it is really needed to be supported for all the locals, particularly the ag industry It's vital. We do not have an aerodrome within the Dubbo Regional Council area other than the Wellington Aerodrome to use for the ag industry for the controlling of their pests and to help make sure their income comes in on time without losing their crops. Another figure I did notice, the last 4 financial years in a document there I saw the average loss was $6,640. However, the last financial year it actually made a profit of nearly $3,000, which I found that quite interesting considering that happened during COVID, and I don't think there were many events on there at all to create that income, to create a profit. So I urge you to stop and think about this aerodrome, make sure it's there for the community. It's a vital asset that needs to be maintained, and we need to make sure we apply for this federal funding to get the aerodrome up to a standard that's quite suitable for all users. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conn. Now, I just noticed that Senator Deborah O'Neill has just come in, and it's your turn for public forum, Ms O'Neill. So if you'd like to come forward to the microphone, there should be a red light on there. If not, just press the button. And you've got 5 minutes, and I'll give you a bell at 4 minutes 30. Thank you.
This chamber and the care that you embed in the work that you do, the reading, the preparation, making sure you get the very best for your community here. As a senator, I actually haven't been in a period of Labor government, but I was happily the House of Representatives member for the seat of Robertson. And I want to point out to the council that we remember from that period of time how significant the partnership between Mr Anthony Albanese as the Minister for Infrastructure, Australia's first National Minister for Infrastructure, was with councils right across this country. We understand that the cost of living pressures are profound, and living in regional New South Wales, the cost of so much is so much higher. We know that in 2013, when the government changed, the cut to FAG grants had a very long and serious impact on the finances of councils right across this country. You are at the front, on the front foot, at the coalface of the interaction between government and the people. There are key issues that we know, in addition to the serious works that you undertake, particularly with roads and other elements of infrastructure in your community, that are vital to your success and that you can't do these things alone. So access to healthcare is a critical issue that's been raised with me everywhere that I've been across the seat of this great seat of Parkes, and particularly here in the town of Dubbo. You have such capacity to grow your own economy. You're such independent thinkers, and I acknowledge leaders in business here in the community that I've already had the pleasure of meeting with on previous visits. But you cannot provide health care to your own people at a council level. You require the investment of federal and state governments. Labor is absolutely committed to restoring Medicare to the strength that it had, and to addressing the chronic problem that is facing this country in terms of access to doctors. It costs more now, and it's harder to get access to a doctor. This is a brake on your local economy. There are so many things that Labor wants to deliver into this seat of Dubbo. We know that infrastructure, access to communications, the real NBN, to get you out, get you moving right across this nation and internationally, is a critical part of your success as a region. There are so many things that this community deserves, and I know that many of you will be part of determining whether you put in grants to seek funding from the federal government. Well, the last time I looked, when I paid my tax alongside you, I had an expectation that the government would transparently assess investment in the best possible way for the benefit of this country. What we've seen instead is a series of opaque decision-making that's seen regional funding, regional infrastructure grants go to the building of a pool in North Sydney. I don't think too many Dubbo residents will be running down to get their swim at North Sydney Pool tomorrow morning. You have a right, when you put all your effort, when the council invests its hard-earned energy, talent, time and money in putting forward grants to the federal government, that your case will be able to stand on its merits, be judged on its merits and deliver into this community in a fair way, rather than be sent in a rorting fashion to seats where votes need to be won because they're marginal seats. I understand how proud you are of your community here. We've all had it tough right across this country with flood, fire, drought and COVID. But we have great days ahead of us, and I very much look forward to continuing to be the duty senator for the seat of Dubbo until the election, and afterwards hopefully being a colleague of young Jack Ayub as the member for Parks, who will be a powerful advocate for this community. So once again, can I thank you, and I do appreciate this opportunity to formally address you, and I look forward to many conversations in the months and years ahead in support of the benefit of the people of Dubbo and your work as councillors. Thanks again.
Thank you, Senator O'Neill. And we've got a couple of minutes left, so if I have any other speakers from the public gallery that would like to speak, then please come forward, and that will be the end of our public forum time. So we've got one speaker coming forward. If you'd like to state your name and just make sure the red light's on, state your name and just what you're speaking in relation to, either the actual item number in terms of the agenda or just generally what you're speaking on.
My name is Wayne Gilbert. I'm on the committee of the Drag Club. Also the president of IWRA, commonly known as Inland Waterways Rejuvenation Association. I want to table 3 documents. One from the Toyota Nationals meeting on the weekend from their president, one from the CEO of IHRA Australia, and another one from the actual track inspection, which you guys were at a couple of weeks ago. So I'd like to table those, please.
And keep, just because your time's still going, keep going if you like while we grab those.
Yeah, no, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Well, sorry, if you'd like to speak to those, if you like, because we won't get a chance to see those before the decision comes up, so still feel free, your 5 minutes is still ticking over, just speak to those if you like.
Okay, so the letter of support from the CEO of IHRA, who is Maurice Allen, it's a multinational company. He's been helping us with all the insurance covers, all the insurance policies, all aspects of the racing, all sanctions, all safety, and all the requirements with council. The track inspection comes down to the actual inspection of the track. There were photos there on that showing the cracks and the sealant that hadn't gone off. That was laid there some weeks before that, and it's been something like 6 weeks. It still hasn't gone off. So I don't think it was a very good repair job. And the Toyota Nationals president, is the letter from those guys was just full of praise. They've been coming here for 20 years, and they'll continue to come here for the next 20 years, hopefully, with this track. And somewhere down the line, we get some improvements done with the track and make it better for everyone who uses that facility, just not one group, for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Gilbert. Thank you, councillors, and thank you to the members of the public. I always appreciate when members of the public come along and talk to us in public forum. That brings us to the end of CCL 22/82. I move on to the next item on the agenda, CCL 22/83, the Chief Executive Officer's Performance Agreement. And so I move that mayoral minute. The CEO would like to make a declaration now. Mr Wood.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I'll declare a pecuniary interest and I'll leave the room while the matter's being considered.
Thank you, Councillor. So I move that mayoral minute. There is in the information sitting there in front of you some components that are in the public forum in that public document that's out. There's also a confidential document that you're aware of that goes through in detail about the performance details of that particular performance agreement. So happy to take questions or comments from councillors in relation to what's in the public document. If you'd like to talk about the confidential document, then what I do is I'd move that to the end of the meeting when we deal with confidential components. Are there any questions or statements in relation to what's in the public area? No, and just for the public there, this is a document that councillors, we employ one person only, that's our CEO. This document is what we've set forward for the CEO to be judged on in terms of his performance, and then on a regular basis, on a 6-month basis, and then a 12-month basis for a committee, will judge the CEO based on the parameters in that particular document. So that's what council's authorising now, so that the CEO is fully aware of exactly what his performance will be judged against from a council perspective. So, being no questions or comments, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Could we have the CEO brought back in, please? Thank you, Mr Jennings. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, councillors. CCL 22/84, report of the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee meeting. Mr Councillor Black, so moved. Have that seconded, please. Councillor Etheridge. Anything to be excluded from that particular report, councillors? Any comments or debate? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. The next item is a report of the Culture and Community meeting held on the 14th of April, CCL 22/85. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have moved the minutes of the Culture and Community Committee meeting held on the 14th of April 2022, save and accept items CCC 22/14, which will be dealt with separately.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Have that seconded, please. Councillor Chowdhury. Is there anything else that councillors would like excluded from that meeting? Okay, there being none, any questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Councillor Goff, could you move CCC 22/14, please?
I move that.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Have someone second that, please. Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Discussion or debate, councillors, on CCC 22/14. So this is the Wellington Aerodrome and Recreation Park 12-month review. Mr CEO, would you like to make a comment on that?
Yeah, just for clarification for councillors and anyone listening in the public gallery, there was some consideration that the notice of motion put forward by Councillor Ivey may have been in contradiction to the recommendation of that report. In discussions through the briefing, we've clarified that the notice of motion, should it even get approved, is not in direct contradiction for that. So I feel both can move as council so choose.
Thank you, Mr Wood, and specifically I assume you're referring to point 2 there, where it talks about the Wellington Aerodrome being used as a multi-use facility, and there's a notice of motion that might change that particular status there.
Yes, and the notice of motion uses words temporarily, so it's not exclusive.
Thank you, Mr Wood. So any questions or debate in relation to CCC/14, CCC 22/14, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. The next item is CCL 22/86, report of the Corporate Services Committee. Councillor Mann.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd move the minutes with the exception of item CSC 22/15, which we will deal with separately.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Have someone second that, please. Thank you, Councillor Black. Any other items that need to be excluded, councillors? No. There being any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Councillor Mann, would you like to move CSC 22/15, please?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'll move that 22/15.
Thank you. Can I have someone second that, please? Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As stated earlier, I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest in this item, CSC 22/15, in that I'm employed by Dubbo Christian School, a purchaser of the lot from council that's recently been completed. The sale of this lot was signed up and agreed before my election as a councillor. As a result, it'll have no bearing on my vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any discussion or debate in relation to CSC 22/15, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. CCL 22/87, release of residential land. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to place the following notice of motion on the agenda for the April ordinary meeting of Council, that the CEO be requested to prepare a report for the June 2022 Council meeting outlining current activity of Keswick Estate and implications of accelerating the current programmed release of land for residential housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Can I have someone second that, please? Thank you, Councillor Wells. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to add a few words to support my motion tonight. We all are aware of that we have a severe housing shortage in our region, and Council is holding large residential blocks. And I would like to get report from CEO how we can accelerating release of those lands for residential housing and meet current demand. Also, Council needs to bring variety of housing type of lot, short and long-term policy, and continue to examine innovative and the other way to facilitate housing in our region. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Do we have any other comments? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're very lucky in Dubbo to have a councils previously that had the foresight to buy land to set aside to be developed. Not a lot of councils have that opportunity. I note recently Lachlan Cusack from the Real Estate Institute of New South Wales Arana Division made some comments in the Photo News a couple of weeks ago with his ideas about how council should sell the land. We all agree, everyone in probably Australia agrees that we need to do something about affordability of housing. Council's trying to do something. We can't, contrary to young Mr Cusack's assertions in the Photo News, the pipes are in the ground for one section. We can't actually rip them up and change what we're doing with the layout of those lots and the roads and things like that, much as we might like to. That's very unfortunate. We can, however, look to plan in the future. This planning's been done long in advance. He's mentioned about medium density housing and townhouses and those sort of things. That's something that Council will be looking at. I can assure everyone of that. We are looking to actually provide blocks. He says in the quoted in the Photo News, part of Council's responsibility is to provide affordable housing. Well, it's a whole of government issue. Federal, state, we can't do anything about negative gearing, about 50% reduction on capital gains tax. As a homeowner, once you get your first home, it's very easy to hop into second, third, fourth houses. What we can do around helping first home buyers into the market, we can look at. And basically, we're here to help the matter. If Lachlan wants to come and talk to us, that'd be fantastic. If you want to get along, you've got to get along. So I'm contactable by him rather than read stuff in the Photo News. I'm a big advocate of free speech. I exercise my free speech all the time, and Lachlan's done that here. Good on him, but come and talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any other points, councillors? Any other discussion or questions? Councillor Chowdhury, you do have a right of reply. There's probably not a lot you need to reply to from Councillor Black.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. No further discussion or debate. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item on the agenda, councillors, CCL 22/88. Council meetings to be held in Wellington for the remainder of the councillor term. Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I'd like to move that this council resolve to hold ordinary council meetings in Wellington on the following dates, commencing at 5:30 p.m. on the 26th of May 2022, the 22nd of September 2022, the 25th of January 2023, although that may vary because of Australia Day commitments, the 25th of May 2023 and the 24th of August 2023. And that the dates for subsequent meetings to be held in Wellington be determined in October 2023.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Can I have someone second that, please? Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Ivey, would like to speak to your motion.
About this motion, I think it would be very good for the Dubbo region to be inclusive and to include Wellington in some of its meetings. Now, I'm only saying that for a particular year 3 meetings be held. I'm not certainly suggesting that all meetings be moved there, not at all. That the 3 meetings be held per year that would actually take us through until August 2023. After that, the situation would be reviewed, and if it was considered to be a good idea and to be continued, if it's considered to be a silly idea, it could be stopped. Alternatively, if the frequency of meetings was to be changed or debated, then that would be the time that it could be done at that August 2023 meeting. But looking forward for the next 12 months, and why I think that it would be good for this council to meet in Wellington, is that the Wellington and Dubbo areas came together through amalgamation. It has been quite successful in many ways. I think it hasn't been so successful in other ways. I think there is a need for us to really make it an inclusive regional council. I think by having meetings in Wellington and some meetings in Wellington and involving the community there at close hand, and also having the Dubbo councillors travel to Wellington for that meeting, would actually improve the inclusiveness. I don't see it as a divisive thing. I don't see it as, oh, we're here, there, and next week we're going to be somewhere else. It's very much an inclusive action whereby we become part of the Dubbo Regional Council, having some meetings in Wellington that is the town that centres on a lot of resources that this Dubbo Regional Council can take advantage of. So I think that it would have some great benefits in uniting the whole area within the Dubbo Regional Council. It gives the opportunity for Wellington residents to actively participate at first hand with a council meeting. It doesn't involve a particularly high cost. Most of the infrastructure that is required is already in place. I understand that there's some more chairs that had to be bought. I understand that the audio-visual has to be upgraded, but probably that needed to be done at some stage anyway, so it's not really a direct cost of council meetings. So with that situation of it not costing a lot of money, I think producing a lot of intangible benefits, I would like to urge councillors to support my motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Councillors, any other further questions? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to give it a go. Mr Councillor Ivey's schedule of meetings here for the first 18 months or so of council. I'm sure we'll probably get a pretty good roll up there at Wellington. It looked pretty good. The council chambers had been fitted out. Also, I had a bit of a look at I worked it out on a proportional basis. If you divide the population up, probably 1.5 meetings a year in Wellington, but I'm happy to give it a go. I'd be happy with 2, but we'll give it a go for 3 next year, 2 this year, 3 next year, and see how things crack along down there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to support Councillor Ivey's motion. If this motion carried tonight, I believe, like I personally believe, it will give a confidence back to the Wellington community that we are all one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Any other further points, councillors? There was a question in relation to cost. Obviously, there is some cost associated with that. I might ask Mr Wood if he's got any indication of what that additional cost might be for us.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Current cost to date is approximately $13,300. As Councillor Ivey mentioned, there's an IT we have to upgrade so we could live stream effectively, some electrical. We actually had good quality second-hand furniture when we purchased the building that was formerly National Parks, and our staff reconfigured that to, I think, set up a very effective council meeting room as well. There's some minor consumables such as flags and what have you and nameplates, but $13,300 for the bulk of the works.
And sorry, Mr Wood, that's a one-off cost. Ongoing costs would be some ongoing costs there?
Oh, there'd be some in terms of, as you would be aware, there's a travelling allowance for councillors for a certain distance. Instead of 2 councillors, you'll have Dubbo councillors in terms of the drive down to undertake their work activities as a council. So, and some staff time as well, but relatively minor in the scheme of things.
Thank you, Mr Wood. Councillors, any further questions or debate? Councillor Ivey, would you like a right of reply?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, could I just make one comment in relation to Councillor Black's maths, and that which are quite correct. But again, if we include committee meetings, which are compulsory to attend, and the committee meetings will be still held in Dubbo. We're not going to hold the off-fortnightly committee meetings in Wellington, just the monthly council meetings. So if you actually include committee meetings and council meetings together, then the proportion is much different than what Councillor Black said. The other comment I'd make just in relation to the cost, yes, of course there's some cost. I think that cost is fairly small if it really does cement and encourage a unified Dubbo Regional Council, and I really believe it's a firm step in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. We have that before us at the moment. Councillors, all those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item on the agenda, councillors, is CCL 22/89, use of Wellington Aerodrome and Recreation Park. Councillor Ivey, would you like to move your motion, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that the council. I'll just actually get the full. That the council temporarily withhold permission for the Dubbo City Car Club to use the Wellington Aerodrome and Recreation Park for the purpose of holding drag meetings. And first point under that, an assessment of the actual cost of wear and tear on the airfield tarmac, which results from the use of the facility for drag racing, be undertaken. Subsequent agreement being reached between the Dubbo Regional Council and the DCCC for a reasonable level of cost recovery to be paid to the by the DCCC to the DRC in relation to that assessed wear and tear.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Can someone second that, please? No, there being no. Sorry, was that a seconder, Councillor Black? Yes, okay, just in time. Councillor Black seconded that. Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, the first thing I'd like to say is that I absolutely do not oppose the use of the airfield or the air facility by the Dubbo Car Club. I think it's a very good thing that facility is a multi-use facility. I've got no problems at all with it being used, and in fact I would actually even encourage it to be used for drag meets. I think it's a good facility. It does bring economic benefits, but I think that what's happening at present is that it's just never been sat down. No one's ever sat down and said, righto, what is the cost of doing it? What's a fair recovery? How do we actually integrate it to be a proper, well-used, sustainable, multi-use facility? We've got the situation now, as you say, as Mr. McLennan and Ms. Hausman said, that it's been used for 20 years. If you go out there and look at the strip, and indeed it's part of another application, another motion that we've got here, of the cost of resealing the tarmac, some figure of $700,000 to do the whole length, but there is a section in that is significantly damaged. It needs much more repair than the remainder of that tarmac, and that section, I don't think there's any doubt about it, that section has been caused by use by the car club. Now that's fine, provided that it's recognised that that's what's happened, and that it's recognised that in future that there should be some cost recovery towards the repair or at least the maintenance of the track. Initially, yes, I understand the car club did contribute funds to it, to making the tarmac suitable for use, and it's now got to the stage where perhaps up to $150,000 is needed to repair that, the damage that has been done by the use of the car club. And all I'm saying is that we really should stand back and look at it and objectively work out what the cost has been and what the fair way of recovering some of that cost is. No more than that, just we should absolutely look at it and quantify it and do it on an objective basis, not just a thing that's evolved without any real objective costings being made. The fact that I put in the motion that really until that is done, I think the use of the facility by the car club should be suspended, temporarily suspended, not I've got no intention of trying to encourage council to suspend permanently the use, just temporarily until we can work out a fair and equitable basis of the car club using the facility. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Councillor Mann.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I personally couldn't support this motion. I just think it's a bit knee-jerk reaction to some current issues. We can't pull the rug on a long-term supporter of the event, of the facility. I'm sure they've got plans coming up for events, etc. I just feel we've got some wheels in motion to do with some grant funding, etc., etc. I just think the motion's probably well intended, but I think it's a little bit premature until we can get some more facts in front of us as to where the damage has been caused and then how we're going to fix it on a long-term basis. So, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Black. Councillor Goff is just in before you, so Councillor Goff, then Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I hear Councillor Ivey talk a lot in the last motion about inclusiveness and unified, so we need to let's be one. You know, if you're going to stop one group using an airstrip to get a full, accurate, damage report, you've got to stop everyone using it. It's not fair. We want everyone to use this multifunctional facility, not just certain people in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll second any motion within reason as a free speech advocate, and I've done that today. I can't support the motion. I understand some of the issues behind the shared use of the Wellington Aerodrome, and we need to work together to sort that out. I personally see it as a multi-use facility as the best option for that site. Then the more people we can have using it, the better. Otherwise, it might be better off put those resources into some other facilities in Wellington. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Councillor Etheridge.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I too can't support this motion. I think that we've had enough of the experts looking at the tarmac out there. It's not even tarmac, but a bitumen. And in their opinions, that the drag club doesn't do any damage. There might be a little bit of damage from where they first take off. That's to be expected. But that's not in the landing area. So I just don't see... It is a multi-purpose area, and I think that we've already had enough expert opinions to say that they don't do enough damage, that they don't do any damage really. If anything, it's probably good for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. Any other questions or debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey, you have a right to reply.
I think I'm on a losing streak, Mr Mayor, but that doesn't take away from my view that I really do believe that, and I take Councillor Goff's comment that all users should be assessed, and the damage that they cause should be reflected in the charges made to those users. I've got no problems with that, and I just think that what's happened over the last 20 years is that that hasn't been done fairly. It hasn't actually reflected the cost, hasn't been reflected in a fair recovery amount, and I just think that it needs to be sat down, objectively looked at and appraised, so that in future we don't get to the situation we are now, where to repair the section of the runway, that the narrow section of runway that is used by the car club, is perhaps going to cost $150,000, and I just don't think we want to get in 5 or 10 years' time back to that position. We've got to be much more professional than that.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. That concludes that particular item. I have the motion before us now. Councillors, all those in favour of the motion? All those against? Declare that lost. Which one did you vote? Against. Thank you, councillors. Move on to the next item, which is CCL 22/90, mayoral appointments and meetings. Can I have a councillor move that? Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Seconded by Councillor Wells. Any questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 22/91, additional special variation for 22-23. Can I have someone move the report of the CFO? Thank you, Councillor Showery. Seconded by Councillor Goff. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Showery?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one question that I seen in the report. The council will get additional income $642,574. So what the council plan to use this additional revenue? Is there any plan? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Showery. I'll go to the CEO.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That will be allocated to road maintenance activities.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Anything further, Councillor Showery? Any further questions? No? Okay. Thank you. Any other councillors? Questions or debate, councillors? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think it's important that the community ratepayers realise that the rate peg was 0.7% this year, and that inflation, as came out the other day, was 5.1% or something like that, so a 2.7 or 2.3% possible rate rise. Basically, that's just to keep the lights on and keep the potholes filled in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to make a comment in relation to the council having the additional funds for roads, and I think it's a great opportunity given the weather, the systems that we've experienced over the last 12 months and more. The roads are in a bit of a shape, and to see that these dollars will go to that will be a great thing to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. It is a bit of an unusual one, and what I might do is I might just go through to the CEO just to give a bit of an explanation, because normally any special variation for rates is a very different process to this. So just for the benefit of the public watching, I might just ask Mr Wood to give us a quick overview of what's occurring here.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And I guess part of the giveaway is in the title where it's an additional special variation. So normally IPART controls the rate peg. They do their analysis and they issue that to local government areas. And the overwhelming response from all local government is that 0.7% bore no relationship to reality. And a number of councillors who have attended the Local Government New South Wales Conference would have heard that repeatedly by councils across the state. And it is normally a very regulated process to ask for above a rate cap. As I say, the rate cap was announced at 0.7%. But the state government, in recognition and somewhat the perverse outcome of IPART's analysis, worked with IPART and actually came up with another rate methodology as a one-off for this particular coming financial year. And that related to what councils had previously in their forward 4-year budget. So what councils adopted previously, they were allowed to put forward if they showed that there was in public available documents, there was public consultation. And so IPART normally doesn't change the rules, and I think the reality of costs to council was recognised in this one-off allowance about how councils could set the rate cap. So we previously as an organisation and the former elected body adopted a budget that for this coming financial year, 2022-23, was a rate percentage increase of 2.3%. Would call out too that, as councils have said, that doesn't mean individuals will go up that much. It's how much we are allowed. So irrespective of the amount of development, new houses that happen for residences, for example, in Dubbo, the pie can only grow by 2.3% under this resolution, this business paper before councillors.
Thank you, Mr Wood. That just clarifies things for people that might be just tuning in. Councillors, any further discussion or debate? Councillor Showery, you have a right of reply to anything that was said. Right, okay, thank you, councillors. I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CCL 22/92, draft 22-23 budget and fees charges. Can someone move that report, please? Thank you, Councillor Showery. Seconded by Councillor Wells. Councillor Showery, you wish to speak to that particular motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have I have seen that a draft budget will go for 28 days public exhibition. I have one question. What avenue are there community to comment to the budget? Is there any what mechanism are you using? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Showery. Mr Wood.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So we will have a community consultation body of work, and as a staff and the organisation, this is going to be our focus for public consultation. Ultimately, they can make a written submission to council on the area of interest they wish to comment on. That will then get bundled up in the council papers to adopt a budget, but staff will consider what the community say, a community member says, and that will be included in the covering report that council will consider when they adopt the final budget.
Thank you, Mr Wood. Any other further questions on that, Councillor Chowdhury? Any councillors' discussion or debate on that particular item? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I really would encourage the community at large to have a read through the budget, fees and charges, and make submissions. Ultimately, the community pays their rates and they should get a say in how it's spent, and this is their opportunity. Whether it might be, I noticed a line in there for street tree funding, disability access funding, heavy patching, other roads, a whole stack of things. There might be parks in your area that you want. Please make a submission. One person's told me that they've mentioned about feral cat and fox control. Make your submission so that we can have a look at it and see what the community wants. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any further questions or debate, councillors? Councillor Chowdhury, you have a right of reply. Probably wasn't much said there that you need to reply to. No. Thank you, councillors. We have that motion before us. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 22/93, the draft delivery program and operational plan. Have someone move that, please. Thank you, Councillor Black. Seconded by Councillor Goff. Councillor Black, do you wish to speak to that?
Just a quick little one, Mr Mayor. I note there that people get the opportunity to once again make submissions on this point. Please do. You might not like parking sensors, or you might want to include something like a bypass or one of the points I did note, and this would be of interest to a lot of people, was that there seems to have been some stuff around Youth Curry Court dropped out. People might want that included. If you want something like that included, have a read through, make a submission so that we can look to include it after the submissions period closes. Thank you.
A good point, Councillor Black. Thank you. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CCL 22/94, results of public exhibition for the Council Code of Meeting Practice. Have someone move that report, please. Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Ivey, do you wish to speak to that?
Mr Chairman, again, it's been put on public exhibition. I gather there was no comments on it. It certainly, in me reading through it, seems to make a lot of sense, and it seems to be self-evident in a lot of cases, and I'd commend it.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. You're right, there were no submissions to that, and I normally take it when there's no submissions that the public is 100% happy with whatever information is going forward, so we'll take that as a given. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? Okay, there being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 22/95, the Australian Local Government Women's Association Conference. Can I have someone move a motion there? We had an alternative motion. Thank you, Councillor Mann.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move an alternative motion, please. One, that Councillor Richard Ivey be nominated as Council's representative to the Badangra Wind Farm. Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong item. Apologies, I've gone off too early there.
Go back one step. Councillor Black, sorry. Councillor Black, can I ask you to move CCL 22/95?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Sorry, everyone. Thought it was the next one. That Councillor Goff and Councillor Etheridge attend the Australian Local Government Women's Association Conference as council representatives.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Can someone second that, please? Councillor Chowdhury, thank you. Any discussion or debate on that, councillors? Being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. CCL 22/96, Councillor Mann.
Yeah, having had a practice run, I'll try again. Alternative motion, one, that Councillor Richard Ivey be nominated as Council's representative to the Badangra Wind Farm Community Consultative Committee. Two, that Councillor Jess Goff be nominated as Council's representative to the Burrendong Wind Farm Community Consultative Committee. Number three, that Councillor Richard Ivey be nominated as Council's representative to the Ungula Wind Farm Community Consultative Committee. Item number 4, the Councillor Shibli Chowdhury be nominated as Council's representative to the Dubbo Project Community Consultative Committee. And item 5, the Councillor Pam Wells be nominated as Council's representative to the Tony McGrain Memorial Scholarship Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Can someone second that, please? Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Mann, do you need to speak to that motion? Thank you. Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. CCL 22/97, housing the Dubbo Regional Local Government Area. Can I have someone move the report of the Manager Growth Planning, please? Thank you, Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Ivey. Councillor Black, do you wish to speak to that motion?
Quickly, thanks, Mr Mayor. This should be a good report. We've got opportunity as council to, through land zonings and other initiatives, have an impact on the housing supply in Dubbo. There's a whole heap of people out there who are struggling for housing at the moment. We can play a part in that space, and I think that it'll be good. I'm really keen to do that, and anything that we can do around that area would be much appreciated by a lot of people, I feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any further discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. CCL 22/98. Have someone move the report of the Senior Planner, please. Thank you, Councillor Etheridge, seconded by Councillor Wells. Councillor Etheridge, do you wish to speak to that motion?
No, thank you, Mr Speaker. I think it's self-explanatory.
Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. CCL 22/99, adoption of the Umundri Flood Risk Management Plan. Has someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Wells. Has someone second that? Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Wells, do you wish to speak to that motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. CCL 22/100, the draft Geary Flood Risk Management Plan for public exhibition. Have someone move that, please. Thank you, Councillor Goff, seconded by Councillor Mann. Councillor Goff, do you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. CCL 22/101, road safety improvements, Nanama Village Road in Wellington. Have someone move that, please. Thank you, Councillor Goff, seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Goff, do you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. CCL 22/102, temporary traffic management at Sheraton Road in Dubbo. Can I have someone move the report of the Safe Roads engineer, please? Thank you, Councillor Wells. Councillor Black seconded that. Councillor Wells, do you wish to speak to that particular motion?
Oh, just briefly, thank you, Mr Mayor. Happy to support the motion and move the motion, but also wanted to make mention of today that the opening of that particular road was a really exciting opportunity. So, yeah, just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Councillor Chowdhury.
Sorry, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion or debate, councillors? I might just get a brief comment on that from... Oh, happy to give a brief comment. So that's the changes that have been made at Sheraton Road in relation to the school area. Effectively, there's a U-turn bay there. U-turns were being made by the public at random spots just after the school area there. So this has now formalised that. There's some no stopping areas that have been changed slightly to make that a bit safer. We believe that with the traffic coming through from the Boundary Road opening that Councillor Wells mentioned, that it needed some temporary traffic management there, and effectively we'll gauge to see how those temporary measures are or how effective they are, and if we need to we can make further changes there, but we believe that we needed to make some changes there to make that safer in that particular area. So the permanent solution will be further down from where the temporary U-turn bay is at the moment. There will be a roundabout constructed. That's not going to happen in the short-term future, so we needed to have something in place for the moment to make it safer there, but that'll be the medium-term solution, will be that roundabout, so that then people can go down to that roundabout and do a U-turn. But we think that now that the Boundary Road opening has occurred, that people will tend to flow through rather than stop and do U-turns and come back. So that should make that safer for that area. We'll monitor that. That was the first day today. People probably either weren't aware of it or may have avoided it because it was the first day, but we'll soon see if the traffic management we've got there is effective and soon see the change in traffic behaviour with the opening of Boundary Road. Anything further, Mr Wood, that you'd like to add to that?
I think you've covered it well, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CCL 22/103, comments and matters of urgency. I'll start on my right this month. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a couple of points. It was Anzac Day on Monday, and I got the opportunity to represent council at Stewart Town. So a good little turnout. They're very community-minded and spirited down there, and a great little service. Just a reminder, Festival of Footy for everyone. Get excited that Rabbitohs and Raiders are coming down to play on the 21st of May, and I've decked my shops out with footy-themed people. I don't go for any of these teams, but anyway, I've done it. So everyone get involved, and there's a local competition going on. And also just want to point out, most councillors got the opportunity to meet Superintendent Danny Sullivan about the policing in Wellington. In terms of striving for utopia of 24-hour 7 policing, we'll get there eventually, but in the meantime, we'd like to work with police, and the biggest thing we want to get out is that every car is like a police station. We'd rather the police out and about, and since Superintendent Danny Sullivan's been there, there's been a lot more visibility of the police. So if you need to get in contact with police, probably not call the station, but 131 444 will be more effective. So just keeping that in mind, and that's my month. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. A good summary. Can I have Councillor Black? Any comments or matters of urgency?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a couple of highlights. I've chased up an opening date for the drug court in Dubbo, and that should be opening around the middle of the year. We've still got to been active in seeing where the rehab centre's up to. There's still some work to go there to get the drug and alcohol rehab centre, residential one, going in town. That'll be good though. Youth Curry Court, that sort of stuff's been decided in Sydney at the moment. There's an opportunity for council to be active in that space to advocate for a Youth Curry Court for town. It has a 40% or success rate of 40% where kids coming before the court don't return. Break that cycle, and that would be fantastic. Anzac Day in Dubbo was a great event, really well attended. Great to see so many people out and about at 11 o'clock service. Indian minor trapping that I mentioned the other month, the birds, that is, I had a go at it and caught one in a week, better than nothing. And I noticed there today that Andrew G in Calare has promised $15 million for a multi-storey car park in Bathurst if he's re-elected to government. I can't wait to see what we've got in store for the seat of Dubbo from Mark Colton, and hopefully it's allocated and delivered before the election. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Councillor Etheridge.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Ivey.
Just a couple of things, Mr Mayor. Following on from Councillor Goff's comment about the Festival of Footy, I think it's heading to be a great event. There may be something that I'm not aware of, and maybe it's all happening, but I'll be very keen to know that the publicity involving particularly the Rabbitohs coming to the town for that game, that they are engaging with a lot of the juniors, particularly in a lot of Wellington juniors, are great Rabbitoh supporters. I presume there are workshops, days being worked with them, some training sessions where some of the Rabbitoh players might go and visit the training in Wellington, and particularly Dubbo as well. But I haven't actually seen any publicity of that. I hope it's happening, but and the publicity will be given. The other just comment I'd make is we didn't really touch on it today, or this evening's meeting, but just within the papers there is the draft interim workforce management plan, which I did actually have a look through and read it, and gee, there's some good things in there. And I think that if, again, we're in lean times, we're in days of inflation, we're in days of budget cuts and problems, but again, I think the interim workforce management plan is a bit of a guide there to how some of the efficiencies might be improved and how, again, how important a lot of the staff are. And if that management plan can help increase the sense of achievement that they get, I think that's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to thank council staff and all the stakeholders who delivered the Boundary Road project. It's really great project for this community. And I also acknowledge Danny Sullivan, the police superintendent, came to our 21st of April that council workshop and give his time and discuss various policing issues with us and community issues, and he really addressed very well and shared a lot of information that really helpful for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of points. One of them I too was wanted to mention the Anzac Day celebrations last Monday, and I had the opportunity with Councillor Matt Wright to attend the Yumundari service, and to my surprise, there was quite a lot of people that turned out to that event, to the march and to the formalities in the hall down the road. And I just really enjoyed the fact that when we were there, the community engaged, the community were really happy to talk about positive things as well as some of their concerns. I think Matt and I felt extremely welcomed by the community, and it just demonstrates the community spirit. No matter what small village you're in, they're really strong in their thinking for community. So I just wanted to mention that. Everybody's probably got something to say about how great Anzac Day was. We know across the nation that there was a lot of people, coming. We broke the records, I think, in terms of numbers. So it just tells you that there's a yearning for people to be out there and connecting again. For me, in terms of building on some of the points that Councillor Black has talked about in terms of the Youth Koori Court, I'm hoping that gets progressed pretty quickly. There has been lots of conversations over a long period of time with getting that off the ground, and you're accurate in terms of what the outcomes are for those young Aboriginal people that are presented to the Youth Koori Court process rather than the other way. So I agree with you, and I hope that gets off the ground sooner rather than later. That is successful in Surrey Hills and in Parramatta. In terms of the alcohol and other drugs, the AOD Rehabilitation Centre, I have to say that I have had a level of concern with the lack of community consultation with this process. It's been since 2020 that the state funding was announced, and prior to that, the WA Regional Council had made a commitment, and the federal government had also made a commitment, and it's just taken so long. And look, I know that the state government or the local health district it sits with them now, and I just want to urge that hopefully council will be looking forward to how we can actually urge and ensure that there's community consultation, and I actually know that there will be some community consultation next month in May, because community are talking about their concern about the lack of engagement from the local health districts. I'm not taking away from the work that they have done, and I have had conversations with the local health district staff, and people are trying, but it's really critical that we get this right. It's really critical that the land area that it is in the right place for the people that will utilise that space. It's critical that our development areas are also safe. There's lots of things that we have to do and get right before this rehabilitation centre gets off the ground, or even a sod is turned. Even the model has to be discussed and work with community around what's the most appropriate way. And we know that Aboriginal people are highly overrepresented at these centres and in the Youth Koori Court. There's so many things that we need to do to make that right. So thank you for listening to me. Bye.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just reflecting on the opening today of some of your words, Matthew, we had We had a former mayor there. We had former key staff who were involved in the that Boundary Road project, and talked about how long ago that actually started, and the vision to. And it's a lesson for all us councillors to be making those brave decisions and supporting the planning, etc., because they're a long, slow burn, and there's very, very good example of how much more there is to do when you turn off the Boundary Road and left into Sheraton Road, and it's an absolute goat track. So obviously there's a lot to do, but well done everybody, and it's all about the big picture game, I think. So, and also the motorbike rally, I think, is on next weekend, 7th of May. Expecting a lot of people for that, so hopefully that'll be a great turnout, and good luck to all the organisers with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Just a few things I'd like to mention. Arthur Mortimer passed away since our last council meeting. Arthur Mortimer was a former mayor of Dubbo, served 4 terms on council, and so he was a mayor way back in the 80s. And so we had they had a function in the theatre next door, but we had our flags at half-mast on that day, and I did speak to his widow at the wake there, and she was very touched by the fact that council had the flags at half-mast. But he was a good contributor to Dubbo, not just from a council perspective, very involved with karting, very involved in the community and various other committees. So sad to see Arthur Mortimer, a servant of Dubbo, pass away since the last meeting. Just a few items there. Anzac Day, people have mentioned. So one thing that certainly has been noticed in the community is the involvement with councillors in a whole range of things in the community. So, for example, on Anzac Day, we had councillors at Dubbo, at Mumble, at Wellington, at Yamundry, at Geary, at Stewarttown. So that was fantastic to see, and exactly as a few councillors have said, councillors were appreciated, or the community really appreciated councillors being there. But I'm getting comments almost every day about the involvement they're seeing from our councillors with the community, and so that's a very big tick against your name. Thank you for the involvement that you've got. Thank you for the participation, and the community really appreciates that. Festival Footy, Councillor Goff mentioned that. It's great to see shops being dressed up, getting involved in Festival Footy. I think that will be fantastic. And Boundary Road was a great project, and for some people who were concerned about potential speeding along there, it is a nice straight track there. I can confirm that by 9 a.m. this morning the first speeding fine was handed out on Boundary Road. So as a bit of a warning to people who do think it's a nice straight track and they can go fast there, then the police will be, I dare say, will be patrolling around that area a lot over the first few weeks, just to let people know that yes, it's a straight road, but it is a 50k speed limit on that particular road. So that's all I've got, councillors. We'll move now under section 10A of the Local Government Act, the following items being item CCL 22/104, CCL 22/105, 106 and 107 have been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of council pursuant to section 10A/2 of the Act. Can I have someone move us into confidential session to deal with those confidential items? Thank you, Councillor Wells. Have someone second that? Councillor Showery. We have had no applications from members of the public to make their representations regarding whether the meeting should be closed to the public. Do any members of the vastly diminishing public in the gallery have any comments to make regarding the proposal to hear any of the items in a closed session of council? And it seems like no one objects because everyone's left by now. So any questions or debate from councillors about closing down into confidential? There being none, I put that all those in favour, against, declare that carried. The streaming will now be turned off, and any members of the public will be asked to leave the chamber. They've already seen the writing on the wall. The chamber will be reopened and the live stream restarted after deliberations on this matter, with the resolution to be made public. And we'll now stop web streaming. So live streaming is now resumed, and so this meeting is now being live streamed.
Just wait till it actually kicks in live before we start.
Okay, it kicked in. So the meeting is now being live streamed again, and we've opened the door downstairs for the public to come back in. I would now ask the Governance and Internal Control Manager to read the items that were decided at the confidential component of council. Thank you, Ms Rouse.
Item CCL 22/104, Dubbo Regional Livestock Markets Business Structure Review. 1, that the information in the report be noted. 2, that a workshop be held with councillors to define the next stage of the service review scope of works. Item CCL 22/105, Dubbo Groundwater Security, engagement of PTS Group boring and drilling contractors for Macquarie River underbore. that the Director Infrastructure be approved to engage PTS Group directly to drill and install a non-potable pipeline under the Macquarie River at Devil's Hole. Item CCL 22/106, proposed method of sale and pricing of lot releases at Keswick Estate Stage 5 Release 2. 1. That Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to A. Facilitate, negotiate and finalise the sale of 52 registered lots within Stage 5 Release 2 of Keswick Estate in accordance with 1. The sales method being auction, and 2. The reserve price as identified within this report, and B. Sign any documentation related to the sale of any lot, including any contract with the purchaser of a lot by power of attorney. 2. That each buying entity or related entity be limited to the purchase of 2 lots from the 52 registered lots. Item CCL 22/107, tender for the construction of Keswick Estate Landscaping, Stage 5 Release 1, non-acceptance of any tender. 1. That Council resolve not to accept any of the tenders received for proposed contract T22-007 for the construction of Keswick Estate Landscape Stage 5 Release 1 in accordance with the Local Government Regulation 2021, Section 178, subsection 1B. 2. That Council resolve to invite fresh tenders for the construction of Keswick Estate Landscaping Stage 5 Release 1 based on different details in accordance with the Local Government Regulation 2021, Section 178, subsection 3B. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Rouse. There are no further items for consideration at the ordinary council meeting for April. I declare the meeting closed at 7:25 p.m. Web streaming is now being completed. Thank you for your attendance, councillors. Thank you for attendance, people coming online. Sorry, Councillor Ivey. No, not yet. Sorry, I thought you might have had something that was urgent that you needed to. Okay, so the meeting has finished. Web streaming is now being completed. Thank you for your attendance.